Hey guys, Robin here, and welcome to another movie review. I'm kind of sort of stoned right now, so I'm gonna try my best to review the 1996 disaster movie starring Sylvester Stallone, Daylight. Now, Daylight is about a group of survivors that are trapped in a tunnel after a huge explosion causes both ends of the tunnel to collapse, trapping them inside. And Stallone, who plays Latura, goes into the tunnel where they are. It's a one-way, which by the way is a one-way, one-time option. And the survivors consist of a family of three, an elderly couple, and their deceased son's Weimaraner dog, Cooper. Um, a woman who was leaving New York to move back home. There is some hotshot extreme sports guy, played by Viggo Mortensen, or maybe it's Vigo, who knows? And there's also and there's also a group of juvenile delinquents on their way to the state pen, one of which is actually played by Sylvester's late son, Sage Stallone, and and similar to Dante's Peak, this movie uses very convincing miniature effects, which are quite good for the time. Although, if you're an expert in cars like I am, you will notice several Fiats cars that are out of place in America, and that is because certain portions of the tunnel collapse sequence were filmed in Italy, where local Fiats were used. And now, another thing I noticed while watching is that this movie is very similar to to a movie that came in the first run of disaster movies in the 70s, The Poseidon Adventure. Both of them have their big disaster happen early on, and the rest of the movie is the survivors trying to survive and escape. Both of them involve people having to swim a distance underwater. In both movies, I think that hypothermia is a concern. Both films have a married couple, and and right as the survivors escape, the main character curses God for what has happened. And for other members of the group getting killed, well, not making it. But so yeah, it's very similar to the Poseidon Adventure, which in fact, there actually was another sequel to this planned, not beyond the Poseidon Adventure. There was the previous plan, but the sequel to the Poseidon Adventure would have involved the survivors having to escape from a collapsed tunnel. Only instead of a traffic tunnel, it would have been a train tunnel. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. And there are some movies that are very suspenseful. There are some moments in the movie that are like quite scary. Like for example, the big tunnel explosion sequence. There's just a wall of fire that are coming at these cars, and it basically looks like a nuclear bomb exploded inside the tunnel. Now, I will caution you. There is a bit in the film where we are led to believe that the dog didn't make it. Like we are led to believe that the dog drowned or died or something. But the dog shows up a little later, which I thought was which like first time I saw this movie, I cried like a little bitch because well when they thought they had lost a dog because well I'm a huge dog person, but thankfully the dog it does make it, and yeah. Now I mean now the acting throughout the film is very good. Um, the writing is it's very intense because anything could happen at any time, and it's just one of the now it's one of the best movies to come out of the '90s revival of the disaster genre. This is one of the better ones, but yeah. Now, or originally they wanted Nicolas Cage to play Latura, but they went with Stallone because the thinking was if they went with Stallone, the movie would make more money, which the movie was a big success, I believe, and uh, so yeah, Daylight is just I mean it's just there's a lot of like build up like to which by the way the tunnel collapse so these trucks are transporting toxic waste into New Jersey, and they didn't take the bridges because the traffic was backed up and they wouldn't have made it in time. But as they're driving through the tunnel, a group of punks are speeding through the tunnel in a stolen Cadillac, and one of them drops the jewels which they had stolen from the owner of the car. But some of the other jewels get spilled onto the floor, and when one of them tries to go for them, he causes the one driving to floor the gas pedal, and he can't let it go, and the car and he can't take his foot off, and the car smashes into a security guard booth that's sending it flying into one of the trucks carrying the toxic waste, which causes that truck to explode. The explosion consumes the back of the truck in front of it, causes that truck to explode, and so on and so on. And after the initial explosion, the fire goes down, and then it like comes back up and starts rushing at the camera, and then it comes back up and starts rushing at the camera. Which, by the way, when that happens, like when the fire comes whooshing back up to roar through the tunnel, the fire actually looks like quite scary and intimidating. And yeah, this yeah, the fire does look quite scary and intimidating, and yeah, this is just it's a very good and suspenseful movie. Like now, if you're okay with this type of disaster movie where the disaster happens and it's kind of brief, and the rest of the movie is people trying to escape and or survive, like in this one, Poseidon Adventure, and the movie Earthquake, although in that one the earthquake doesn't happen like early on, it kind of happens right in the middle of the movie. But I'll talk about Earthquake when I watch it, and I got like a, yeah. Anyways, yeah. But me personally, I kind of prefer the disaster movies like Twister, Dante's Peak, and Into the Storm, where 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 there's kind of sort of like a period of like calm, and then once the disaster happens, it keeps happening until the end of the film. In fact, this movie was written by Leslie Boehm, who also wrote Dante's Peak. Yeah. Is there anything about the film I didn't like? Well, aside from them teasing the dog died. Hmm. There's kind of one thing. During the big explosion, we see the kind of building that's being under construction that has like the front and back of it are mostly glass, but when the explosion rips through that part of the building, it only comes like out the roof. From I feel that all the glass would have been blown out, but I mean, I guess they were kind of limited by the effects. Now, yeah. So, okay. So, if you don't mind your disaster movies having it happen early on, and the rest of the movie being the characters trying to escape and or survive, I do recommend this one for that type of disaster movie. This one is really well done, and it's just, well, it's a great movie. Like, if you're a Sylvester Stallone fan, basically, a, if you want to watch a movie starring Stallone, where he isn't some big, ripped, shirtless action hero, then I would highly recommend Daylight, because the guy has range. Now, yeah, that's all I gotta say about Daylight. So, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all soon in the near future. Peace.